Okay, gang, rule number one in how to hire the right realtor has very little to do with the right realtor, actually, and it has everything to do with yourself and your property. As you begin the selling process, it's crucially important to understand the nature of your asset, whatever it may be, and your own goals. They are not always the same and quite often divergent, in fact. The single family home in suburban America is really where this video series has focused, but I have gone off on innumerable tangents, if you recall, talking about all types of different property, multifamilies in suburban America, multifamilies that are more than 3 and 4 units that would cause them to be considered commercial and wouldn't be available for traditional residential financing. Vacant land, commercial property of any kind, strip malls, with a structure, without a structure, you name it. Could be agrarian, USDA loans and that sort of thing would come into play. But in any case, you need to understand your property pretty well before you can go searching for a specialized realtor that would be the best suited to handle that property. Now, if you are a lay person, let's say, again, very specific scenario that doesn't mold well specifically just to the single family suburban home. Maybe you've just come into this property by virtue of a gift or it's been bequeathed to you from a deceased relative, whatever the case may be. If you aren't equipped necessarily to understand your property as well as you need to, you can rely on the interview process to gain new information. And if that is the case, you're probably going to want to interview more realtors than less to get as many pieces of the puzzle as you can, frankly, for free, because that's the nature of our business. We realtors do a lot of free work to get to the at-bat, to maybe earn money, and we have to be very good at our jobs to secure payment, compensation for the work that we've done for free in the past. So you've got that piece now, understanding your own goals. Let's take that last scenario. For instance, you've been bequeathed a vacant commercial property by a deceased relative. You have absolutely no idea the ins and outs of this property, the tax consequences of this property, what could or could not be built there potentially, zoning, allowed uses, municipal law, et cetera, et cetera. It's a lot to understand. And frankly, you need to understand it, at least topically, to be able to choose the right realtor. But moreover, let's talk about your goals with this property. Do you want to make maximum dollar figures? Are you interested in becoming a property developer where you had zero experience in this sphere before, with the potentiality of earning the most possible money by building a structure there and then selling it, or building a structure there, leasing it to somebody and then selling it? Or is your goal to extract as much value out of this thing in as short a time as possible and walk away from it so you don't have to complicate your life any further? Maybe you've got 6 kids and your hands full with other endeavors. Who knows? You get the idea. There's a broad spectrum, no pun intended, of eventualities and a broad spectrum of desires as a seller that could come into play when you are trying to choose the right realtor. So do some studying. First, about yourself. What really does your life look like? How much bandwidth do you have to tackle new problems, new learning, new industries? Just drinking from a fire hose of information until you could potentially be educated enough to make decisions on how to extract the most value from this property. Write it down. Write down the pros and cons. Then move on to the property itself. What do you know? What don't you know? What questions might you have? And then, fortunately for you, yes, the majority of the realtor public would be happy, quite happy, to show up at your residence or your commercial property or whatever it is that we're talking about here, meet you at a coffee shop or walk the land with you or any damn thing in recompense for the at-bat to be the realtor you ultimately choose and the ability to potentially get paid for their efforts. And they are, especially if you are doing your due diligence and researching these realtors, a wellspring of knowledge that has been gleaned over entire careers. myself. This is my 15th year doing real estate. And, I'm not trying to puff the chest here, but I've been involved in just about every different type of transaction. I can't really think of one off the top of my head that I haven't been at least party to, worked with other realtors on. So I do have a very broad, deep knowledge of most sectors of real estate. I'd be glad to talk to you for several hours about your property and all of the ins and outs if you care to know. And this is what you would do in the early goings of the process. Know yourself, know as much as you can about your property, and start talking to real estate professionals, writing down everything they said, recording in some instances so you can go back and listen to it later and try to understand yourself and what you've got in front of you. All right. We'll see you on the next episode where we're going to employ that knowledge to start to try to draw down the number of potential candidates for the realtor position for your property. And if you've enjoyed, of course, this information thus far, don't forget to like and subscribe. Throw up a share for anybody else that you think might enjoy this information or be helped along their journey by it. And we'll see you on number 2. Peace.